after the Knicks lost, I shut my phone off, and for some reason I didn't see, or maybe it wasn't in the news, or maybe it was in the news and I just didn't see, but I woke up to the crazy news that in Washington, D.C., 2 Israeli embassy staff workers were shot and killed in cold blood. And I was already down about a meaningless, in the real world scheme of things, a meaningless, devastating loss for the New York Knicks. But to wake up and the first thing that I see was actually a text from Dust Brother Jordan Winter saying something about this cold-blooded assassination in Washington, D.C. It's needless to say, the day didn't start off very well. And I was already in my fake feelings, my unimportant feelings about the Knicks losing. But to find out about the killing of this beautiful young couple in Washington, D.C. by a psychopath, or maybe he wasn't psychopath. Maybe this guy isn't. Maybe you can't call these people. I think this guy wasn't. He was so calm, so cool, so collective. The killer of these 2 Israeli embassy staff workers in Washington, D.C. And he went back in there and he confessed that he had done it, and he took out a keffiyeh scarf. And then when they were arresting him, of course, he said, "I'm doing this for Gaza, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine." And I just couldn't believe that this happened. And everybody has been saying for 19 plus months, and right now we are at the 595th day, 595 days. There are still 58 hostages in Gaza. 595 days. There are still 58 hostages in Gaza, 4 of whom are American. And I'm sure it's already been celebrated at one of these rallies, just like October 7th was celebrated on October 8th openly, when people came out on October 8th and talked about how exciting it was that the massacre had taken place in Israel. They talked about how exhilarating it was. I know I already saw people celebrating it online, the murder, cold-blooded murder of these 2 young people in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure by the time I put up this I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast, it'll be documented. Somebody will be publicly saying that it was supposed to happen. How could you not think something like this was going to happen? And saying this is what happens with occupations, and this is what happens with genocides, and all of the other fake, convoluted that has been coming out. But do not forget that on October 8th, while the fighting was still happening in Gaza, do not forget, less than 24 hours in New York City, people were screaming and yelling and celebrating and talking about how excited they were that Israel was under attack and Israel was being slaughtered, and talking about globalize the Intifada. They talked about globalizing the Intifada. It's been on signs. It's been graffitied all over college campuses. It's been said, screamed, shouted, promoted day after day after day after day for 595 days. And congratulations, in Washington, D.C., they globalized the Intifada. That's exactly what happened in Washington, D.C. That is the globalization of the violence against Jews. That's what globalize the intifada. That's what an intifada means. It's not some kumbaya. It's not some celebration. It doesn't mean protest. It means exactly what happened in Washington, D.C. You wanted it. You got it. I hope you're happy. I hope you people feel good. I hope you people feel invigorated and excited for all of the anticipation, all of the celebration of Yahya Sinwar, all of the cheering for Yemen, Yemen, make us proud, turn another ship around, for all of the Zionists aren't allowed on this part of the campus. No Zionists allowed, for all of the graffiti, for all of the screaming, the yelling, the intimidation, all of the harassing, all of the canceling of conversations, of shows, of speaking engagements, of the screaming and yelling outside of the Nova Festival, all of the misinformation online, the fake news that gets retracted, the fake news of Israel blowing up hospitals, and then it's perpetrated all over the world and promoted all over the world. And a few days later, they go, oh, well, this wasn't actually what happened. This is what happened. For creating an atmosphere where wearing a Jewish star is something that Jews need to think twice about. This is where we are, where you can't walk around and feel safe and comfortable wearing a Jewish star. You can't walk around feeling safe and being comfortable wearing yellow pins to acknowledge that 58 hostages are still in captivity. For the context from UPenn, Harvard, Columbia, where heads of these higher education, where heads of these schools of higher learning are up there bullshitting on congressional hearings, talking about context and what's the context and explaining all that. All of that. Every single thing that happened in the last 595 days all over the world, the United States, in New York City, globalized the intifada. That's what happened last night. And the excuses and the double talking and the excuses and the double talking and the no accountability and the Harvard being defunded because they let that happen, and the Barack Obamas and the Ilyana Omars and the Rashida Tlaibs and the coach Steve Kerrs, instead of calling it exactly what it is, turning it into this Trump political thing, when we know that if the same behavior was taking place on these campuses and it was towards anybody else except for Jews, it would be immediately snuffed out. And you got these lunatics running around, these Khalil Muhammads, and that Mowan, whatever the fuck his name is. And they want this. They screamed for this. They celebrated this. They called for this. It happened, Khalil Muhammad. I know these people are happy. They wanted this. That Nerdine person, that fat Nerdine, they wanted this. They wanted this. They have been calling for it. They have been asking for it. They've been chanting it. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Israel won't exist. That's what that means. From the river to the sea, Israel won't exist because Palestine will be free. All these chants, they're happy about it. And it's sick and it's crazy that it's happening in 2025 in the United States. And motherfuckers have sat by, and Kathy Hochul Kathy Hochul, you still couldn't shut down. You still couldn't cut through the red tape. Mayor Adams, none of you guys could cut through the red tape, that these people should not be able to run around with their keffiyeh scarves, the same kind of keffiyeh scarf that sick animal whipped out in Washington, D.C. This is not a movement of peace. This is not a resistance. It's a movement of violence. So of course this is going to happen. Of course this is going to happen. But when it does happen, it's just shocking to realize that it did. And a couple of people asked me, well, what should we do? What do you think we should do? And I'll just say what other strong, smart, proud Jewish people have told me is that when something like this happens, you have to soak it up, soak up the reality, soak up the reality of the situation, just like you have to soak up the reality of the situation every single time an IDF soldier goes down, every single time a rocket is launched into Israel. The other day during the Knicks game, rockets at 3 a.m. in Israel being launched. The only thing that you can do is to pray. The only thing that you can do is to dust yourself off. And the only thing that you could do is continue to stay loud and stay proud and be actively Jewish. A rabbi told me that being Jewish is a participation sport. You have to be actively Jewish. That's the only little sliver of advice that I have, is to pray, wrap tefillin, read Torah, check on your friends, check on your family, and stay loud and stay proud. Because despite the craziness that Jews are going through right now, despite the craziness that Israel is going through right now, and it's every fucking day. It's every fucking day. It's exhausting every single day. There was this news report that was posted, put up by the BBC and NBC and so many mainstream news media outlets the other day, that within 48 hours, 14,000 babies in Gaza are going to die. And then 48 hours later, it doesn't happen. And nobody acknowledges that this fake news, this propaganda has already been put out there and people run with it. And then you are confused as to why somebody would feel emboldened to shoot two people in Washington, D.C. in cold blood. It's all of that. It's all of that. But as far as what we can do, the only thing we can do is to stay loud, stay proud, stay actively Jewish. And as overwhelming, as frustrating, as demoralizing, as heartbreaking as this time has been, and whatever I'm going through is minuscule compared to so many other people, the only thing that we can do is remind ourselves that Jews are going nowhere and Israel is going nowhere. We've seen it all. We have heard it all. Just stay loud, stay proud, and never, ever, ever doubt that the Jews are going nowhere, Israel's going nowhere, and the unbreakable spirit, the unbreakable light in Jewish people is real. It's more real than ever before.
I am Rapaport Podcast.